Hi, welcome to the Between Them podcast. We're Michaela,
Jane,
Agnay,
and Coco, and we're yapping about what it's like to live with endometriosis.
No medical advice, just real experiences.
Let's get into it.
Hello, welcome back. As we shared, we decided to split this long conversation into 3 parts, and this is the second part. Michaela, Jane, and Coco reflect on our early memories and experiences with discovering we have endometriosis, and also our experiences with the healthcare system in general. If you've ever been misdiagnosed or had any negative experience in that, then this episode is definitely for you. Enjoy!
We can talk about how we've had to make these adjustments over the years, because I know for myself, there has been times where a lot of times in the past that I could go for that hike with that friend, and I did have the energy to go grocery shopping by myself, do a ton of errands, and then carry them all up the stairs. This hasn't been my life forever. It's definitely the worst it's ever been, but it hasn't been this specific and this type of pain.
What I'm curious about, because it leads to that, what you're asking, is I really feel indeed from the moment just before I got diagnosed, that's actually when it got the worst. Because indeed, I don't feel like, of course, I've had, my biggest thing basically all my life has been really heavy periods, very irregular periods. I would have no period for 3 months, 6 months, a year, or I would have my period for 6 months or 9 months, and it would be extremely heavy. Those were my biggest concerns, and it would eventually, what it did is it caused a lot of back problems for me. So I couldn't even bend over. And then suddenly, I feel like my symptoms kept getting worse and worse, but only around the moment that I got diagnosed. Maybe it's your brain clicks in and suddenly all the symptoms make sense. But I feel like a lot of them, the chronic fatigue, was never that bad until I actually got diagnosed and also was given the pill. I have a feeling it might have made things worse.
I've always had chronic fatigue, though, since I was young, but I always pushed through. And I've always been very adventurous, especially more so as a child. So it was very difficult for me. But I remember sitting, being 11, 12 and being I wish I could sleep now for no reason, and I wasn't a lazy child. I was very active, but being I need to, and trying to stay awake, but then full-blown insomnia as well. So you know what I mean? It was, so I've always had sleeping issues, but I definitely hormone related. It has to be,
Totally.
I was a child,
there's a lot of.
Exactly, when I was diagnosed with endometriosis, then I was all of these symptoms made sense. So I could talk more about them and be okay, I have this. This is how it is. This is da-da-da-da-da. Also with age, as we get older, we no longer want to do things that we used to do that don't make us feel good. When we were younger, we would be I don't feel so good doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
100%.
You do have 100%. more energy, more drive, more. And then I think after 30, you start saying no to more and more things.
Yeah.
And I think our body is also at the same time saying hello, say no, wake up.
That's what I mean. It's our body, but as well as our minds, because as we get older, we do start saying no, but we should have been saying no actually in our 20s.
Long time.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Because we've been in pain for so long, and it's been such a drag, something. You know what I mean?
It really breaks my heart when you say that we should have been in our 20s, when actually, no, they fucking should have diagnosed us. It's so heartbreaking where we're no, we should have been better in our 20s. No, they should fucking have found it in our 20s.
100%. It's just so,
we just shouldn't actually have it to begin with,
that also
that. It's just so interesting to know what we know now and look back at past things through that lens, because I know for me it was so so many things were clicking as I looked back, as oh, that's what that was, because there's definitely been pieces that have always been a problem, the chronic exhaustion and fatigue. I'm just known as a sleepy girl in my family. If you don't hear from me for a while, I'm probably reading or I'm sleeping. That has just been the running joke for my entire life, that Coco is a sleepy girl. I had mono when I was a teenager, so that was peak. But I also really wonder about these bigger pieces that show signs that are really fucking weird, and they seem like all of these isolated incidents, but it could actually be endo that's tying it together, or it could be like hypermobility that's tying it together, and endo and PCOS and chronic migraines, and all of these pieces are like these umbrellas under. And I think that's what makes it so challenging to get diagnosed, is because all of these things are being looked at as separate issues, like chronic fatigue, painful periods, irregular bleeding, and they're prescribing treatments to treat one part of that specific issue while ignoring the whole picture. And then the side effects of those treatments might be causing or worsening other issues. Because like for me, always like from day one with a period, incredibly painful, incredibly heavy bleeding, like bleeding through clothes, bleeding through multiple layers of underwears that have like the maxi pads plus layers of tissue paper or like toilet paper. Avoided sleepovers for years, like never went on a sleepover if I had my period. And that solution at age 14 was to be put on birth control. And so now at 32, I've had over half of my life spent on hormonal birth control. As symptoms and age progresses, and it just really makes me wonder, like, A, is it making it worse, and B, if this was looked at as like such a big piece earlier, how could have that informed treatment for our lives? And I just like, I feel really, I'm like angry about that now, about like having to grieve the life you thought that you were going to have, and just navigating that frustration to be like, I have to make so many adjustments to think about a trip to the grocery store and all of those pieces. But yeah, it's so interesting looking back through it. And then I think that also can be challenging to advocate, because those things weren't always documented or recorded properly. And so you're remembering them. There's no proof of it. And then you have all of that. They send you for an ultrasound. The ultrasound comes back clear, and they're like, well, that's not that then. Or they say, oh, that just must be your PCOS, but we don't have enough information. So you could just, we'll just assume that what you're experiencing is just part of PCOS that's undiscovered. So there's nothing more we can do. So it's just, I think it's all of those pieces. And I've definitely recognized like my work is making my pain worse, like with the stress and the physical demands of it. So since going back to that work full time, my pain has been at a new type of peak, and also following surgery, pain has been worse than it was before. So it's just really weird.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like I remember when I was 11 years old, I was at my friend Jenna's house. I actually had this whole situation. Like I remember the bathroom, I remember the toilet. I remember standing over the toilet, and the back and my stomach pain, and this is for an 11-year-old, was so bad. And I remember opening like the thing and looking what painkillers her mother had, and just like popping paracetamol and ibuprofen and being like, wow, what is this? This must be how it feels to have a period. And then everybody was doing whatever they were doing. And I think none of my friends even had their period yet, so I didn't really want to talk about it. Do you know what I mean? I was young.
Totally.
And I was like, what the fuck is this pain? And it was excruciating. And my back, I had back pain. I clearly remember it, and I was a thin, active young child. I had no reason to have any sort of, so I was just like, wow, I clearly remember that. And I was like, that was the beginning of it.
Yep, 100%. And we were never taught that that's not normal. Like, when I talked
even
about
our parents, our mothers didn't know that, like 100%. Nobody knew.
No, nobody had any idea. My mom said, I also used to have really heavy periods.
Same. My mom said the same.
Yeah. In order to stay optimistic about it, have hope that in future generations, people like us are going to have so much more information sooner, and they're not going to be where we are now. And I just like really hope for that, but it also pisses me off.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. Like also having my period for, I think when I got back to when I was living in Zurich, it was almost 9 months, and I kept going to the doctor. And they kept being, and you know what they kept doing? Just checking me for anemia.
Same.
Well, I was never anemic though, funny enough.
No, me neither. I was, but I was like, it did affect like energy level for sure.
Of course it
And they
does.
weren't like saying it's like,
you know,
it's like border.
that's just like a breeding ground for endometriosis. If you were bleeding every 9 months,
That's insane.
And then I would say to her that I'm bleeding
for like a week, and then it would carry on.
And then it would come back
to 5 weeks, and then it would stop for a few days, and then some days it would be a little lighter. So I'd be like, it's okay.
Oh
And
my
I'm like, no, it
God.
Did you
must
then
not be
also
okay.
did you
Definitely
also
not.
experience then I had that, like it would stop, then I would have sex and it would start again. Like somehow having sex would cause
It would
me again
like,
to get my period.
that's
And I
crazy.
was
How long
always
would it
confused
last
by that.
for?
Like really long,
What?
because it would stop and then it would come back and then it would stop, come back, and then and then I would be like, okay, it would be maybe 3 weeks of stopping, and I'd be like, yeah, and then I'll have sex and it'll come back again.
Oh my
And I could
God.
never understand why. Like it didn't make sense.
That's
No.
insane.
But nothing makes sense. But when it comes to
No.
endometriosis, nothing really makes sense. Nobody can give you a proper answer. Every doctor will give you different advice, different but the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Same but different. Try this medication,
And
hormonal
follow up in
based.
2 to 3 months.
If
Yeah.
that one doesn't work out, don't worry, we will put you on this one. Okay, that's not working. We'll put you on this one. Okay, that's not working. Let's induce menopause.
Literally.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Literally. Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
think I'm on hormonal treatment number 8 or 9 since the age of
I have
14.
been on,
Like,
I've been, same as me. But I can't really take contraceptive. 4 or 5 months into it, like my skin just goes awful. I always start bleeding through. So I just start bleeding. When it's meant to have the opposite effect. I gain excessive amounts of weight. Sorry, I'm just trying to get under the covers here. My toes are so cold.
Get cozy.
There we go.
But
Yeah.
isn't that like, I was thinking also like, why are we always getting anxious to go to our appointments, right, with specialists? But they're not anxious about the fact that they can't actually, they don't help us properly. Like if we
They
ask
don't
them
care
certain
because they're
questions,
getting
like,
paid.
yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it crazy? They should be anxious because we're literally like asking them questions that they can't answer.
Yeah,
And they're
they
like,
don't
yeah,
care.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would be anxious. Otherwise, they would. Of course, you will get caring doctors. That's not true. Do you know what I mean?
But just
Yeah.
like the medical system in general is not built to care about women.
Well, and just like, yeah.
Or take their
Yeah,
pain
that's true.
seriously. It's just not. Like
Yeah.
it was just like built by a bunch of old white dudes.
But
and
apparently
the patriarchy.
There's 20 cases of men having endometriosis.
Which is why I
Apparently.
think it's now like getting traction,
Where is the
unfortunately.
where's the endometriosis in the men? Where is it lying? What organs? How is it
I think
affecting them?
it's
I did hear
depending.
about
I don't
this
know.
as
I need to
well.
read, but I heard it indeed that there are 20 men worldwide, I think,
Is
that
this
are have
factual
been
or is
back.
this fun
Yeah,
fact?
yeah. I think if you Google it, like it will come up. There's a research on it. And I
Okay.
think and I don't know where they found it. I think most of them, what I read, I think has to do with a joint pain. And then when they investigated the joint, it was somewhere along the joint or something. And there was tissue found.
Probably because
But
they've
I
been
don't know,
drinking the
like,
water with all this contraceptive. You know what I mean? That
yeah.
is flowing through girls from the age of 10. Who puts
Yeah.
any child on contraceptive unless they are having unprotected sex? Do you know what I mean?
And I'm
Yeah.
like so
Which they shouldn't
curious
be, but it
too.
happens. But what? Why would you? How can you put children on contraception?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think the results are going to be for years on end?
And just like
I had
not
a
taking those like side effects seriously, and instead like just giving another like band-aid fix to that. So it's like, okay, be on hormonal contraception. It's going to cause really bad acne, so we're going to give you a prescription for your acne. It's going to like you're already.
But then you got to go on
experiencing
Rakatan at the same time.
Yeah.
And you can't go in the sun.
Yeah.
You have to get
but you
blood
need
checked
vitamin
constantly.
D because
If
your
you
levels
fall
are
pregnant,
depleted.
you will be fucked.
Yes.
Like.
And then if you have like depression already and your birth control makes your depression and anxiety worse, we're going to put you on an antidepressant as well. And then if you are experiencing really low libido and having a hard time with your sex drive, then that's just too bad. You need to be less anxious and you need to just like go for a walk and have some water, and literally nothing is wrong. So I think you're just like stressed from your job, and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's the truth. That's the whole truth of the matter. Now 20 men recorded with endometriosis. But imagine like young boys, imagine your 11-year-old son or daughter even went into a doctor's office and they were like, hey, look, this is my son. he's having problems, and they're like, we're going to give him medication. He will be infertile for as long as he's taking it. It will cause weight gain. He most likely will not be able to play football anymore due to the weight gain and the depression. But there's no
that's
way.
not even
There's
no,
no
and
way
that's
it's
not
not
even the
going to
most serious one. I've had thrombosis twice and a double lung embolism because of birth control. Huh?
That's
Like I was
crazy.
given birth control. I took it for 4 years, got thrombosis. They didn't catch my thrombosis because again, I was at the emergency with pain and they didn't believe me that there was more going on.
happen. Do you
And then they
smoke?
found a double no, no, never. And they found, and like I've always been a very active person, and I was walking around in that waiting room, basically out of breath, just walking. And then finally, the doctor was like, "Are you always this out of breath?" And I'm like, "No." And then they're like, "Okay,
That's
we're
why
gonna
I'm
do
here.
yeah." And then they're like, you know what? We'll do a CT scan or whatever they do they put fluid in your lungs and then they check it. And then he came back and he's like, "Oh, you were right. You have a double lung embolism." I was like, "Fuck, I could have died basically. If I had left another hour, I would have been dead."
That's
Like I
insane.
just
That is
and
fucking
that's not
insane.
even like I know in the US and probably in Canada, they're a little bit more strict in what they have to share, but here in the Netherlands, I feel like they don't bridge that enough when you take birth control that there
Mm,
is a danger that you can get thrombosis, right?
no,
And they just
not
don't share that
discussed.
enough. And then you're
No.
giving it, indeed, like you said, to an 11-year-old.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
who knows what that's going to cause? Like, it's
100%. And like, didn't they abandon clinical like research and testing on male birth control because the mood
yeah,
swings and the weight gain and the libido changes that they were experiencing?
the side
They
effects
just,
of
the side
libidos,
effects
they were
they
like,
decided was too much. We cannot. I was like, and that's the
yeah,
fucking hypocrisy. Like, if they are doing endo research, which I'm glad it's happening more and more often, but there was a study done on attractiveness of a woman with
yeah,
rectovaginal endometriosis. I'm like, this is
that
what the
was the
money is going
biggest
to? Are you
research,
fucking kidding me?
the
Like,
biggest research for endometriosis.
this could not show more clearly how devalued women and people with a uterus are in healthcare and how the system was built to not believe them or support them. And yeah, like side effects of birth control never really discussed. They're like, here's this tiny, tiny pill that will change the rest of your life forever.
Yeah.
And then here is your list of side effects. And we're going to trust the reading comprehension of 14-year-olds on text that an aunt can read, and our due diligence is done. And we'll follow up in a year and see how you're doing.
Yeah.
I keep saying it also too. I say to my partner all the time. I feel like endometriosis is like the biggest fuck you to women. Like
100%.
they don't give a fuck. Like it's really a biggest fuck you because this basically takes away all of our pleasure, our normalcy in life, everything, and they don't give a shit about actually fixing it. Because honestly, they don't.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but we're also making the medical system a lot of money. It's just another thing.
True.
You know, endometriosis is like the new depression. You just keep handing out medication, handing out medication, handing out medication. Or doing
surgery
a
after
surgery, you know, surgery after
surgery.
surgery.
Yeah.
That is so much money.
Yeah. 100%. And then if they're not having to spend money on doing actual useful research, then even better. Saves them even more.
But that's also like the hard thing, right? Because there are a lot of women who, you know, in the groups that we are, right? There are women who ask like, you know, they're advising surgery. Do I do it? And it's very hard to say yes or no because there are women who have, okay, it does grow back eventually, but there are a couple women who've gone like 3 or 5 years with pain free, and actually are so thankful that they did. So you can't really say don't do surgery. It doesn't make sense. Like there's no point because. If it can give someone maybe 3 or 5 years or maybe longer pain-free, then you can't really say no.
100%.
My pain, I was pain-free. No, I wasn't, because after recovery, you're in pain while you're in recovery for a good few months.
Yeah.
Then after that, no, I was in pain straight away. Look, I always had this constant thing because it was on my appendix and I didn't know what it was. This constant felt like a knife, and that is gone. So that no longer exists. My appendix no longer exists.
Right,
but aside from that, I still have pain. And pain during sex became far worse afterwards, I assume from the scarring.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's so hard to say if things are made better by certain treatments when pain keeps changing with like age and circumstance and activity and stress level and hormone level and all of those pieces. So it's so hard to say what's useful and what's not. I was like, I'm still on hormonal birth control because I benefit from the fact that I'm not getting periods because the periods are so debilitating. But you also have to like weigh the pros and cons of the other side effects and the other pieces of that and be like, what has a greater impact? And so I feel like that is like the same sort of process of weighing the pros and cons of like side effect versus other impacts when it comes to surgery. Because same as you, Jane, my pain got worse after surgery. Like the healing was really, really rough. I've never healed well from surgery. So I like knew that part going in that could be a bit risky. And my gyno said like, I want you to understand like there is a chance your pain could be worse after the surgery, but it is a very, very small chance. And that was like the only risk discussion that was had. And like we had the surgery. He didn't end up doing it. He's an endo specialist. There was a snowstorm. He got delayed. He didn't end up doing it. And OB-GYN stepped in and did some excision. I've never once seen photos. I've never once like gotten follow-up from her. She talked about doing an excision on a part and like other like gunshot spots, but where she removed it from, that pain persisted, and then other pain that was like already there was worse after the surgery. And then so it just keeps on like incrementally getting worse in different ways. And then I think also the way that I've had to adjust my life also causes other problems that bring up new like pains. So it's just like, it's so hard to say, had the surgery not happened, would that trajectory would have followed just based on like my age and my health and my stress level and my hormones? Or did that set off a new like series of incidents that were made worse or totally new? And it's just like so hard to say. Because like similar to you, Jane, I also got my appendix out. It almost ruptured because they took so long to decide in the emergency room if it was an ectopic pregnancy and whether or not I was telling the truth. And it was like, I was there for like, and I almost didn't even go into the ER because I was like, what's the fucking point? It was like, why bother? And they were so convinced that it was an ectopic pregnancy. And I was like, I have not had sex in 6 months. I was in a long distance relationship and they would not believe me. To the point where they ran my white blood cell count 3 different times because it came at such a shocking number. And by the time they got the 3rd run and like confirmed like this is emergent, it was too late to get an ambulance. It was going to take too much time. So my dad like put me in the car and it was like a 27-minute drive to the hospital. And then next town, we made it in 13 minutes and got rushed right into surgery as soon as I walked through the door so they could get my appendix out. But I was like, if a man went in with that pain, he would have had a CT immediately. And I get that because those systems are so close together, you have to look at other options. But hey, maybe if we just like started with like believing women first and then worked from there, like what's the harm in spending I ended up getting a CT anyway, an MRI anyway, or whatever. What's the harm in doing that 2 hours sooner so that so much of this could have been avoided? And then the complications from that surgery was also crazy. So it's just like all of these little pieces that if it had been written by a woman, it would have been so much different.
I told you that when I went back after my surgery to my specialist, he was on holiday. So this was in a private clinic in Switzerland. So his partner was there, who's also a specialist in endometriosis. He was like a fucking dinosaur. And he kept telling me that I had chlamydia. I think I said so on the last
one. You mentioned it. Yes.
And I was like, but wait, I've recently had surgery. Okay, I've been put on, I forgot what medication it was, some sort of contraception afterwards.
Yeah.
It's not working. I'm bleeding. I've gained 12 kilos. This pain is fucking excruciating. And he kept telling me, like every GP did that I've ever been to, I've had more STI checks than I have anything else in my life.
Oh my God.
But what pissed me off was the fact that I was with a specialist. And he kept saying this over and over again. And I was like, but do you not have my chart? Are you reading? Why would I be in this office? If what? And then he still wrote me an email afterwards. Oh, you don't have chlamydia. And I was like,
no fucking shit.
Well, why? I would have just gone to the normal doctor.
I know, that's why I'm here again.
I like it.
That is
and
why
I
I'm
was
here.
just shocked, but like absolutely shocked. And I was like, what the fuck? But then also, like every doctor I went to, though, every doctor, always seen different doctors when traveling to STDs or STIs, STI, 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 STI. And I'm like, let's go again. I am so clean. If I ever had anything, like I would know straight away because I was having up to 3-4 times a year full STI checks.
Oh my God, Jane.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah, because
and you're like,
they kept saying over and over again, oh, we can't find anything. It must be this STD. It must be this. It must be this. It must be this. And I'm like, I don't even have that much sex. It's too fucking painful. Okay.
And also, how can it keep being that if it's never once come back positive? What is the definition of insanity again? Like doing the same thing, expecting different results? Like,
exactly.
Oh
So that's a nice way to end part 2. I mean, being misdiagnosed over and over again can be so exhausting, and we'd love to hear your feedback on how your experiences have been. So hop on over to our comment section, either on Spotify or on YouTube, and let us know how your experiences have been and anything you'd love to share.